Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're not already, consider following us on Instagram and Twitter and supporting us on Patreon. Now, onto the topic of the video. So, it's much to my dismay that I had to make this video because I was going to release a really nice video today about all my thoughts about Ottawa's LRT. I do think it's a very nice system and such, but there have been 3 days of consecutive very bad delays on the system, and I think that's more important to talk about than how pretty the system is. Now, I know that this might be a bit controversial, and I do want to make it clear, I love the system. That being said, a system that doesn't transport passengers effectively in rush hour is not good enough. And so let's talk about the kind of problems Ottawa's facing, my thoughts on it, and what we can perhaps do about it to make it better. So to kind of give you the background, Ottawa's LRT opened late. It had some door problems that were kind of brought up throughout the testing, because trains were testing for the past, several months to almost a year, I think, because the line was not complete, but enough was complete to test trains. And so there was issues with doors freezing up in winter. I think the door mechanisms were having some problems. There was a minor derailment, or maybe 2 minor derailments, all things that, it's okay. They are growing pains, and even this, it is the first week that the system is operating without the parallel bus routes. It's possible that all of this is just growing pains. But that being said, this past week there's been 3 days of really bad delays during the peak rush hour. And when I say really bad delays, I don't mean, a train was delayed by 2 minutes, which is the type of thing that TTC frustratingly seems to announce all the time. There's been a delay, and then 2 minutes later you hear the delay is cleared. That's fine. These were bad delays. Trains were sitting for 15-20 minutes, single tracking was going on, platforms were jam-packed. It's dangerous, and it's really not a good look for a brand new transit system. So what is the kind of culprit? Well, in each case it seems to be a little bit different. One case, it was a door was forced open by someone, and this caused the door to kind of take some damage. That's obviously not good. Another case, there was an issue with the VOBC, or the Vehicle Onboard Computer, which basically interacts with the signaling system. This is a more complicated issue that's not really related to the passengers, but also obviously not a good thing. So let's start with kind of general thoughts about all this. I think it's pretty bad, and it's pretty telling that you're having these issues, and the fact that they're with the doors are not positive. The public is aware that the doors were having some issues in the past, and I'm a little concerned. I like the Alstom trains, but as I was saying to some people, it seems like Alstom may have gone to the Bombardier school of how to build LRVs, at least in Canada, and that's really not a good thing. The thing I think that caused at least the delay on Wednesday was someone forcing open the door, and the mayor and others were quick to call out that people should not be forcing the doors and we need to bring in punitive measures. And you know what, actually, I'm totally for that. I think that we could use that in every major city. You really shouldn't be holding the doors because it will delay trains, and it's really a jerk thing to do. When you think about it, one person holding a door is gonna hold up, 1,000 people on a train. It's ridiculous, right? So don't hold the doors, wait 5 minutes for the next train. You can go on your phone just like you would if you were on the train. That being said, it's also totally unreasonable to suggest that you shouldn't be able to really, beat on that door and the door breaks, right? Subway systems around the world, people abuse them. It's unfortunate, I hate it, but people push the doors, they hold the doors open, etc., etc., etc. The doors need to be able to take abuse, and if they can't, well, that's not a good design. People are saying that maybe it's because the doors go like this. That's called a plug style door. It's basically where the doors come out and then they go to the sides and then they go back in and come back in when they close. That's not the problem. This style of door is used on tons of different systems around the world. This style works fine. Plenty of systems have it. They're pushed and abused, no problem. This specific vehicle is a new vehicle, and the door design therefore could be different. So the specific mechanics, etc., of how the door is designed may not be the best. So that's a little concerning. Now, the other issue comes down to the CBTC and the vehicle onboard computers. And I think the signaling system itself is probably completely safe. In fact, the reason that the trains won't operate is because the signaling system is safe and it's preventing the trains from running, which is definitely a positive, I suppose. However, the actual vehicle onboard computer, which belongs, I guess, to the train as well, unfortunately, wasn't functioning properly. And I think it all comes back to what seems like a lack of proper testing. There was, I think, about 12 days of kind of intensive testing before, with the full system running at full tilt before operations commenced, but no amount of testing is going to compare to when real people get on there. People do things you don't expect in testing, and when you have this many issues with your system, it shows that you probably weren't anticipating a lot of things which people would be doing, and that's maybe not surprising, given that Ottawa has not had a system like this in the past. Nonetheless, all these problems are concerning, and so hopefully some solutions can be found. To talk about those solutions, I think the first solution is not to blame passengers. It's to explain problems very transparently and to basically continue to talk about what the issues were, be very clear what causes issues, and I do think it's good to educate passengers, not to push open the doors, but it's also not good to blame passengers, because end of the day, you should expect passengers will do that, and it's really your fault as a designer or engineer on the system if the system cannot take a passenger pushing a door open. Again, this is something that happens on transit systems around the world constantly, so it shouldn't be a big issue. So with all that said, I do think Ottawa can fix these issues, and the system is a nice system, but of course these issues are problematic. We're going to link some resources down in the description that really go into great detail about the problems and maybe some thinking on those problems, but because perhaps we're not the most experienced in the actual intricate engineering of these trains themselves. That being said, again, I really hope that a solution can be found. I think in the worst case, maybe it's time to say to the Alstom and Bombardier trains and go get the Siemens trains that are being used in many cities in the US that seem to be pretty reliable. End of the day, I think that Ottawa's problems can be fixed, but it's really unfortunate to see a new system like this kind of, I don't want to say flop, but it's definitely stuttering. That being said, I think with a lot of effort from OC Transpo, work from RTG, or the company that basically, or the consortium that basically built the system, I think that these issues can be solved. That being said, if they're not solved, this is going to go down as a huge boondoggle, and it will be perhaps the final death note for LRT in Ontario, and I really do not want to see that happen. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching the video. As always, if you liked what you saw, share out the video and subscribe. Thanks, and have a good night.